Hey, 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 hey. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. It's Karen Hilton. It's Monday. Wake up. It's time to get going. This is Monday Morning Jumpstart, and you are here with this amazing Rock Your Vision squad for Monday Morning Jumpstart. How you doing this morning? If you are here, I want you to go ahead. Come on. I got a new coffee cup, y'all, and I mean, it's everything. I want you to see it. And it says, wake up and be awesome. I need y'all to wake up and be awesome, okay? Come on. If you're here with us, go ahead and jump into the stream and let us know you're here. We've got Beverly Wilkes this morning, y'all. Hey, Beverly, welcome back, sis. Beverly is an amazing part of our tribe. We love her so much. Good to see you this morning. And we have Miss Sarah Fruman, who's in the stream, who is posting as the Rock Your Vision Masterclass community. Hey, Sarah, good to see you in here. We know you're behind the Oz's curtain there. We see you. And we're here this morning. If you're new for the first time, do us a favor, just pop a note in the comments, #new. We want to know that you're here. We'd love to know your name and where you're joining us from. If you are coming back to the community, then welcome home. Y'all know how we do it. Hey, Jerry, good morning, buddy. Good to see you in here. How's it going? I saw you were going on an amazing hike somewhere, I think, this weekend. I want to know where you went. Let's see, Vanessa Aliaga. Good morning. Good to see you in here. And we have somebody who's posting in here. I can't see your name, but if you are new to the community, or maybe you're joining us from YouTube, or maybe you're joining us from Facebook within the community, go ahead and pop your name in the comments so we can see you. We got Coach Akila in the house, Coach Akila Charlemagne. Akila, we got to give you and Alicia like nicknames or something because I get your names confused all the time. Like it's a mouthful, and it's a beautiful mouthful. Anyway, good morning. Good to see you in here. Okay, let's see. We've got a lot to cover today because today we're talking about the cost of personal growth. Come on. Y'all know more than ever in 2020, your personal growth, my personal growth has cost us something, hasn't it? What's it cost you? Oh my gosh, what's it cost you? It's cost me a whole lot. We're going to talk about it today because, listen, if you're going to rock your vision in 2020 for sure, but any other time, you've got to think about the cost of personal growth. We've all got to do it. Let's see. Jerry said he's going Wednesday to Laurel Falls in Cove Mountain, Fire Tower, and Cataract Falls. Y'all, I'm serious. Okay, so Kim, when we come for the Rock Your Vision retreat to Dudash Farms, we're going to make a stop and go hiking with Jerry King.
There you go. I'm all in.
Awesome, awesome. Hey guys, we've got Sajatha Lee. Good morning, sis. How you doing? So glad to have you in here. Sajatha and I are sisters in another community along with Kim in the Going Live Every Day in August challenge. Y'all don't know anything about that, but one day you're going to know something about it. It's an amazing community of leaders and folks who are stepping out into the live streaming space, and that's us. So, Sajatha, good morning and welcome. We're glad to have you here. Well, listen, I want to go ahead and introduce my amazing panel. In fact, I'm going to ask them this time to introduce themselves because they do it so much better than I do. Anyway, we've got an amazing crew of leaders here. I call them the RYV squad until I find a better name for them. But they are an amazing group of leaders who are coming along on this journey with me every Monday. And you know what? We go hard at it. We're always looking for ways to encourage and inspire and equip this community, right? That's the way we like to do it. So I'm going to have them introduce themselves, and I'm going to start with ladies first. Kim Dudash, how you doing this morning?
Good morning. I'm doing great. I'm Kim Dudash, and I am the founder and president of Dudash Executive Coaching. And I love to work with leaders to help them reach their highest potential. And so today's topic is right on point with what I'm very passionate about. And also, I am the co-owner of Dudash Farms, and my husband and I, we raise and sell grass-fed beef and pasture-raised pork. So I got a lot of things going on. Yeah.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Kim and her husband, Brian, have an amazing business called Dudash Farms, as she said. And I just want y'all to know it's a little slice of heaven. So if I ever run away from home, there's a good chance I'm going to be at Dudash Farms. I'm just saying.
And we've got the room ready. So you come on.
Awesome. We're super glad to have you here. Kim, thanks for joining us. And we have, come on, I need some hand claps for the big dog, Pastor Andy Smith. Come on, y'all. Give him a little clap. He needs a little clap this morning.
Good morning. I'm good. Thanks for letting me be on here. You know, between leading the campus, pastoring at Influencers Kennesaw, and having the opportunity to work with you some and do some other coaching around and engagement of itinerant speaking, I'm just enjoying trying to figure out this thing called life, right? So thanks for letting me be a part of it and learn.
Awesome. Pastor Andy Smith is one of the best leadership teachers I have ever heard in my life. The man can preach the paint off the walls, not to mention. So if you're looking for a place to hang, Influencers Kennesaw on Ben King Road in Kennesaw, Georgia is an amazing place to be. And they're streaming live. They're doing it real and they're doing it right. So glad to have you, Pastor Andy. And then, we've got to bring in a little bit of California into the mix because we got to have the West Coast represented. Can you give it up for Jeff Bull this morning? Come on.
Hey, everybody. Morning. Good morning. Happy 5:30 in the morning West Coast time.
Hashtag commitment.
Right? It's good to be here. Yeah, I do. So I'm Jeff Bull. I'm a systems engineering manager at Cisco, the IT company. And I also do coaching for folks in the IT industry that are looking to either make a pivot in their career in general or are looking to take that next step in their career and really bring their passions with them into what they do every day. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Glad to have you, buddy. And then we saved the best for last. We've got Dr. Lawrence Henderson. I'm prophesying right there. Dr. Lawrence Henderson in the house. Come on.
Good morning, everyone. While I pontificate before I give my introduction.
I know where you came from.
See, I appreciate that. No, you gotta keep that grounded, right? And you always know where you come from. But I am Lawrence Henderson. I am the owner, operator, and chief learning officer for Business Operational Support Services, LLC, aka those who know me, boss. And the thing that I love to do most is help those who don't know where they are. They are not necessarily stuck; they just stalled, and so I help them connect the dots to where they are to where they desire to be. And so I am. Kim, you hit the nail on the head. I am not just passionate, but I'm purposed about helping folks find out what personal development and professional development looks like for them, because I understand the power of it. And so I'm excited about this topic.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you, Lawrence, for being here. Lawrence is an amazing speaker. He lights up a room, but he also has a great way of connecting the dots on things that most people are afraid to walk into. So if you're looking for a speaker, Andy Smith, Lawrence Henderson, you got some options. Drop the mic. Okay, come on. Well, listen, we're talking about the cost of personal growth. And so if you're here with us and you've not popped into the comments, do me a favor, just drop a note in the comments. And by the way, we would love it if you would take a moment and share this. Do a watch party. This is the kind of content that everybody can use. I'm gonna ask these leaders, this amazing panel, to share some of their experiences around the cost of personal growth. And this is not a topic that normally, people talk about a lot. We talk about personal growth a lot, but we really don't go deep. And so that's what we're gonna do today we're going to talk real and raw about the cost of personal growth. So if you can, go ahead and share. Go ahead and let your tribe know that we are streaming live here on Facebook. What an amazing platform, you guys. Talk about having to grow. How many of you, by show of hands, anybody, show of hands, thought, oh yeah, I was going to be live streaming on a regular basis, or on Facebook on a regular basis, or YouTube or SnapTube or whatever it was you're doing on a regular basis? How many of you thought a year ago that you'd be doing that more than what you were doing it? Anybody? Because I'm gonna put my hands down. That was not that was not what I was expecting. But here we are. You know, it's one of those things where you have to step into the light, right? You're forced to do it. I remember, now we're never going to mention this again, and it's just between all of us, okay? I remember when the personal computer first came out, and my boss put one on my desk, and she said, I want you to learn this new program called PowerPoint. And I was like, this is what the typewriter is for? That's what I said back in the day, before I had good sense. And I didn't believe the personal computer was going to last. We're not going to talk about that anymore. Anyway, let's get to it. Again, if you're here for the first time, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're glad that you are here. All right. The cost of personal growth. I don't know. Personal growth is one of those touchy topics. Now, when you first hear that word, that phrase, personal growth, what do you think of? Personal growth. Panel, what do you think of? Personal growth.
Struggle.
Why, Jeff? Tell us about it.
It is fascinating. I was thinking about this first thing this morning when I woke up, that it's fascinating how much we all are told as we grow up that you're going for this next thing. You're going for this next part of your career, whatever it happens to be. It's almost inadvertently, it's almost like a resume generating event, that like you're just trying to get that next line item on top of the resume along the way. But no one tells you the things you're going to have to do to get to that point. Good, bad, and different. They just don't tell you that, like, yeah, you're going to get there, but you're going to have to sacrifice a lot of other things that you didn't think you're going to have to sacrifice. Best of luck. Here you go. So it's a sort of, here's all the awesome that it comes with. We're just not going to talk about the other stuff.
Yeah. It's kind of like getting married. Now that literally just came to me.
Don't tell my wife
being married is awesome, right? Okay. I just totally got everybody on this panel in trouble. I'm just saying, but you know what I'm saying? Like you put on the dress and you get the tux and it seems all wonderful. And then in like a few minutes you're married, and then you get married and you realize that that's when the hard work begins, right? Come on, y'all. Don't be silent in here. Don't be acting like you're all special. Okay. Anyway, I see that look on your face, Lawrence Henderson. Is that sweat? No. Okay.
I got greasy forehead.
Okay. Anybody else? What do you think of when you hear the term personal growth?
For me personally, I think of raising my level of consciousness. It's going to require me thinking about things a whole lot differently than I do right now.
Yeah. So Kim, do you think if I had asked you that question 20 years ago, would you have answered that the same way?
No, I agree with Jeff 100%. You know, we know we want to grow, and we look at people and we see them as mentors, and we think, man, that's someone that I aspire to be. And we don't realize the work that it takes to get there. Right.
Yeah. It reminds me of the saying that says, don't covet what someone else has, because you don't know what it cost them to get there. Right. Well,
that's exactly right.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question. And this is a little bit deep. We're going deep really early. What has personal growth meant for you this year? I'm going to start with Pastor Andy Smith. Pastor Andy, you're a leadership expert. You're a man of faith. You hold on to the scripture when time gets hard. Personal growth has been easy for you this year, right?
Yeah, no, not at all. And I think, when we talk about this subject and the cost of it,
there's a consistent tension for me of measuring, changing the metric system, measuring growth, not on how many times I've been disappointed or discouraged, but how many times I've let those reactions interpret what I'm facing as defeat or process. And so, it's this management. I think a lot about what we faced is where we've leveled up this year. Everybody's leveled up. If you think about, the gaming system world, you've leveled up to a new level with new opportunity and obstacles or enemies or whatever it is. And so now we've had to recognize, to traverse through this current landscape, there's not actually an external enemy in another human. It's actually a cultural challenge that requires me to first and foremost lead myself through it. Talk about boss, consulting here in leadership, Lawrence, but it's the idea when we talk about personal growth. For me, it's recognizing I just hired myself, and every day I'm tempted to fire me. And so, because man, if I had to lead myself or work for myself, man, I would probably have the greatest struggle. So this idea of what we're facing, really, for so long, Karen, we've been so focused on leading others that I almost think we betrayed the number one approach to being the best leader, and that having to sit right in front of a mirror and address ourselves, because leading others in this landscape is not really the issue right now. It's leading ourselves so that we don't forfeit the responsibility to lead others. So personal growth means I'm not forfeiting my own responsibility or opportunity to my responsibility.
And so for you personally, when you think about how, what it's cost you, right? One of the things that I realized, especially in 2020, is that growing for me has meant my relationships have changed, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's hard because I'm a heart-centered leader. I love my tribe hard. I want to help everybody. I want to connect with everybody, but I can't do that because there are only so many hours in a day. I have a family. I run 2 businesses, blah, blah, blah. And what I've recognized is that not everybody's happy about that because they were used to kind of a certain, it's an intoxicating thing, right? To be in relationship with other people. And at least for me, what I've seen in quarantine is this social distancing. While we say it's not social isolation, I think it was the first thing that we did. We assumed we had to isolate ourselves because there was an element of fear kind of mixed in the soup with everything else, right? So that had a relational strain. But once we kind of all came up from that, I was pivoting, my clients were pivoting. We had all these things going on. And so I had to get really kind of light and tight about how I was spending my time, what I was doing, because honestly, I was spending more time just trying to get my own head right, just trying to get my own mind right, as the old folks used to say. Talk to me for a second, Pastor Andy, about that dynamic that you're seeing in your leaders where relationships are being challenged and changed.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what we're facing is the great divide right now. Everybody has an opinion about what we're facing, and everybody has an opinion of how somebody else should have handled what they're facing, right? And so I'm not really responsible for how I'm handling it because I'm a victim, but you are a contributing factor. So I have a higher expectation of what you're doing. And so I think as leaders, it's to take a step back from all the noise. Because the noise is never a great consultant, and it's never an objective an opinion. It's just honestly everyone's reaction to their own chaos and their own discomfort that you can't fix. What we all deceived ourselves in believing was never going to be an issue. I mean, no one ever thought we'd be facing what we're facing. No one ever thought that all of the different fallouts from the pandemic, the social tension and injustice that existing, not to mention now we've got natural disasters and phenomenons that are all contributing. This is a cocktail for chaos. And yet somewhere along the way, none of our manuals, none of our books, none of our articles were written from this vantage point. So we're having to unlearn and relearn, and no one wants to unlearn. We want to add information. We don't want to have to purge information. And so in some ways, I think the tension for me is I cannot even be, and I'm, we're going to get real honest. I'm the last person that wants to admit I'm closed for business until I get perspective.
Come on.
Because somewhere along the way, my ego, and that's the first enemy I face, is my own ego.
Yeah.
It's never as bad as it is for you, and it's always worse because it deals with me, right?
Oh my God.
And so my ego gets in the way. So what I have to do is just step back and be like, hey, let me shut down. And the cost of that is offensive to people that are not ready to give leaders space to get perspective to lead.
Come on.
We don't give each other space. So instead of me backing up and going, look, I've seen the full weight of Lawrence's life for the past 3 years as a leader. I've seen Kim's incredible leadership. I've seen Jeff just brilliantly assess and respond. I've seen, we don't do that. What we do is we say, oh, time out. There's no margin for you to back up and get perspective. So the cost is we have to be willing to let go of, what we never had control over anyways.
Ouch. Come on. That's so good. I want to jump into the comments for a minute. The question is, what comes to mind when you think of personal growth? Coach Akila says, personal growth comes with leaving some things and some people. Can I get an amen? Growth often means you outgrow and grow up. Mic drop. So good. Miriam Baker is in the house. Hey, Miriam, that's my girl. Y'all, Miriam and I are boos. We're sisters. We're part of the same tribe. Hey, Miriam, she says she thinks of being introspective and being your own worst critic. Yes, that's what happens, right? We get this kind of message in our head. We do that thing where we say, it's worse for me, but then we go to that self-critical mode, right? I don't know about you, but that's where I start. I get my little violin out and I think of all of the reasons, all of the things that are going on in my life, and it compounds and it keeps me stuck. Absolutely. So Lawrence, I thought you were about to preach a minute ago. I want you to chime in on what Pastor Andy said just a second ago.
Yeah, it's funny. In this season, as COVID happened and everything, like everybody sheltered in place and everybody kind of went in. One thing that I had to do for myself in talking about the cost of personal growth is I had to be unapologetic about the process of assessing where I was. And
come on.
And yet for the people in the back, I'm gonna say it again. I had to be unapologetic about assessing where I was, because if you didn't start there from a personal growth perspective, if you don't check and locate you, then you'll begin to potentially lead other people wrong in the wrong direction. And so it's one of those situations where I had to check for myself, is my inner me being an enemy to me or a friend to me? And so in that season, it literally at the beginning of the season, it was derailing me and it was my enemy. And one thing that I told some youth yesterday, when we talk about the decisions that we have to make, the growth path that we have to take, it's about there's not a good versus bad. You just need to reframe it. And are you on the path to good, better, best? And along that journey of good, better, best, what do you need along that journey? Who do you need along that journey? And you all have talked about people that have fell off. I say that they fell off because they weren't choosing to keep up, or they had their own stuff that they were going through. No judgment, nothing whatsoever, because they needed to process things. But what I did was made myself available. And I just left it out there. And those, they took me up on it. Those who didn't, we not talking today. And it's okay. you'll meet me in another season potentially. But
Come on.
for me, what I loved about Pastor Andy is, again, just in this season, leaders needing to take this time, because we always say it, right? It's the t-shirt we all wear. Hurt people. And so if leaders are continuing to pour, people are constantly grabbing at the straws. I mean, leaders are out here naked. They like, I can't even figure out Zoom, let alone figure out how to help you in your situation. Like,
Zoom witness.
I mean, it's one of those situations where, yes, as a family, most leaders and most pastors, like, hey, we were experiencing economic upturn, but then all of a sudden, boom, we all experienced loss of some sort all at the same time. And so we all had to process. And so as a humanity, we need to allow people to become the human being that they're desiring to become, but they need to process and assess where they are so they can begin this work. And that's why I love coaches. That's why I love coaching, because coaches are meant to hold space regardless of background of the person. You coach people, not position descriptions.
Come on.
And so any coach that I ever meet out there, that I will fight you if you tell me that you coach a position description before you coach a person. We have to, in this season, coaching and the modality of it, you need to see the heart of people, be present, empathetic, see, hear, and value the being that's in front of you. And so that's where we are with personal development.
So good.
Hey, Karen, let me just say to add on to that real quick. Don't mean to interrupt you, but I think there's a tension for all leaders to understand that at times we're going to have to consult, at times we're going to have to coach, and at times we're going to have to counsel. And not necessarily being an expert, because I know that's a hot topic. Like I've studied some counseling courses, but I'm not a licensed counselor. There's a tension, I think, if we're going to lead well in this season. It is adding to that point of coaching the person. It's listening and understanding who you're leading before you try to apply your leadership.
Come on.
Because your leadership doesn't always apply to the people you're leading. Yeah. When your leadership is based out of another realm of experience. And the problem is leaders today cannot coach based on a method. They have to coach based on governing mission and principles.
Yeah, so good. So Jatha said, I want to go back to a comment that she dropped in here. Personal growth for me means discipline, grit, and a lot of other stuff. This year, it's been more challenging than ever because I feel more desperate than ever. Come on, Jatha, you just dropped it like it's hot. Like you said what every one of us has said or needs to say, right? This has been a season of desperation. And as leaders, all of us lead. I'm not talking, again, like Lawrence was saying, about necessarily a title, but I think it's important to remember that leadership is really about doing the things that other people won't do in the environments where we have influence and impact, right? So if you are a mom, if you are, if you're retired, if you're running a company or just running yourself, right? You're a leader. Somebody's watching you. So yeah, there's that feeling of desperation. Miriam says, social distancing has made me reevaluate all my relationships. Can I get an amen? I prioritize the ones that are helping my growth and are mutually beneficial, but let the toxic ones go. So Miriam, you bring up something really important. I want to talk about this for a minute because there's a difference between recognizing who needs space and who's just dragging you down. Come on. That's good. That's good. I'm gonna clap for myself. There's a difference between recognizing, who's bringing you down and who just needs space, right? There's a book, I forget who wrote it, but it's called You Can't Fire Everybody. It has to do with the corporate space, but it's true, right? Like you literally walk around with no friends and have no clients. And in this season where there's this toxic kind of energy of blame, suspicion, all that sort of thing, I would tell you something. I refuse to give in to that. And I've said this before. I'm not going to repeat it on here because Pastor Andy is on here. But I have a certain thing that I say about COVID that reminds COVID what I think of it. But here's what I want you to know if you step into that space in this season where you're trying to grow, you're trying to do things differently, you're trying to expand your mindset, you're trying to learn new things, you're trying to just take a minute, and you're around people who won't give you that space, I need you to check your Rolodex. Y'all know what a Rolodex is? Okay, it's a thing, and it has little pieces of paper, and it rolls. It's got numbers and names on it, so you know how to contact people. It never goes down. It never breaks. And girlfriend's got one. Anyway, let's see. Let's pop into the comments real quick. Kim, I would love for you to give your thoughts as you sat here listening to us. You've dropped some great comments in the chat here. What are your thoughts about all this that we're talking about?
Well, I loved what was just said by one of the commenters, that, it seems like we're trying to struggle harder and harder to do the same things that we've always done. And, as humans, we are conditioned to recognize the familiar and respond based on our strengths.
Yeah.
But what we're finding now is that we are up against something that is completely different, and it's going to require us to tap into strengths that we do have, that we just haven't been using. Right? I mean, it's we all have these gaps. And I love, Pastor Andy, what you said about, taking a step back and recognizing that it doesn't mean that you're not a good leader. It just means we've got to think of different ways to lead, because we are having to step into a space that has never existed before. I mean, it really, really is a very deep subject. And like Lawrence said, this is where coaches really can be helpful, helping us to identify those strengths that we have never had to tap into before. Mm-hmm. I love this little quote or saying that leadership is a crucible. How true is that?
Ooh.
Every day we're being called to step up a little higher than we were yesterday. And we can't do that with the same level of thinking. It's like, the quote, we want to do the same thing over and over again, and we're expecting to get different results. And we have to step back. We default to those strengths that we recognize within ourselves when we get into stressful situations. And a lot of times those are reactive tendencies. Those are reactive traits. And, how can we learn to step into our creative competencies instead of relying on those short-term reactive strategies? And I think that a lot of leaders right now are running on that reactive. So, it's how do we turn that into something that is creative, and how do we turn that into something that will help us propel not only ourselves forward, but our team forward. So I think a lot of people feel ashamed of the fact that, oh my gosh, I want to crawl under my desk in the fetal position because I don't know how to deal with this. There's no shame in saying, I don't know how to deal with this. Okay. So how do we get ourselves to a new level of thinking?
Yeah. So good. I want to run with something you said, and Jeff Bull, I want you to dig into this. I think you have a unique perspective on this. Kim said leadership is a crucible. And here's what I'm curious about. In this community, we have entrepreneurs and we have folks in the professional sector. We have retired folks. We have kind of a mix. But I'm really curious, in the corporate sector, with the leaders that you're working with, what are you seeing in the way of how the cost of personal growth is showing up? What does that look like from your perspective?
It's a really good question. Something that was kind of floating in my head, and I don't know if this is something I heard from an amalgamation of Simon Sinek stuff over the years or whatnot, but all of you kind of danced around it and said it in different ways. But the thing that it reminds me of is, I see this in corporate all the time, is so many leaders forget that leadership isn't about you. It's about the people you serve, and what they need from you more often than not is not what you have identified as leadership. Like, oh, I'll go learn all these things and I have all these mantras, blah, blah, blah to give you, but it's like, that's not what they need. Here's a simple example. We have my company has a huge customer conference. We put out every year, 20, 30,000 people come in person. Clearly that's not a thing. Now we did it virtually, went great. And everybody in my org was figuring out, how do we get people to go to this? It's all virtual. How do we make sure they attend? Okay, send them links, make phone calls to them, whatever it happens to be. And I'm like, let's just do some live streams. I mean, I'm comfortable with that now. Let's go do some live streams. We'll do some post-event things, blah, blah, blah. I came up with these ideas and we did it. And I started getting phone calls from people left and right, like, how are you doing this? This feels like magic and voodoo. I'm like, we just did some stuff. And I'm like, we just did it. Like it didn't, at first it wasn't really clicking, resonating with me how strong of an impact it actually was. And again, it wasn't about me. It was, and it's a key example of, and there's other people at my company doing the same thing, similar things. And what I realized afterwards, months afterwards, it took some time, is that especially in a professional setting, especially in corporate America, where everybody has a tendency to feel like a cog in a really, really huge machine. And they don't know how to, they feel like they always have to impress somebody rather than trying to have some kind of real impact, or they don't even notice that they're having an impact because they're so focused on impressing somebody, which is so backwards. But that's the mentality we've driven home with people, especially in corporate settings, is that it's about impressing, not about impact. What I finally realized is that they were looking for somebody to lead them to do this thing. They didn't know what to do. They didn't even know how to ask the question. And when somebody out there does something a little different that feels just even marginally within grasp, they go grab onto it. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I'll go do that. It has nothing to do with me personally. They just saw somebody who did something and realized, oh my gosh, I can do that too. And it was, again, it wasn't about me. It was about, they needed somebody to lead them to the thing that they didn't even know about. And I think that's the hardest part about corporate America, especially these days, is that people just don't feel empowered to see the impact that they are having. They feel forced into impressing somebody else.
Wow. Andy? Oh, sorry, Kim.
Oh, that's okay. I was just going to,
and then Andy.
I was just going to say, Jeff, you're so right. I mean, leaders get so caught up in making sure that they are presenting themselves in a way that they're expected to present themselves, and we totally forget that the whole reason we're there is for the people, right? And we need to learn that vulnerability is okay. It's okay to stand in front of your group and say, "This is totally new. This is, it's okay to say, I don't know what to do next, but let's talk about, or, I mean, it's just okay to be vulnerable." That's all I wanted to say.
Kim, I just wanted to, it's so interesting that you say that, because as soon as you say, like a leader almost like looks a certain way, it's like, yeah, let me go grab my sport coat real quick, because that means I'm a leader, right? Because I put the sport coat on. Or
come on, Jeff.
I have, but I'm in tech, so it's a t-shirt, a techie t-shirt with a sport coat. I have that bit of camouflage, and that tells you that I am a leader, right? And you're right, Kim. Like, that's it couldn't be further from the truth. The people who, just because you look a particular way or display yourself a particular way, doesn't make you a leader. It's the things that you do that help other people see the potential that they have that makes you a leader, or makes them want to come to you to lead them. It doesn't make you a leader. It makes them want to come to you to lead them.
Jeff, we could do a whole stream just about that right there. This thing that you and Kim are talking about, the sense of vulnerability. And part of what's happened, I think, the cost that so many of us have experienced is there's this rawness that has happened when we've been forced to show up in our own personal environments. The first thing I thought about when quarantine happened, I realized how many live streams I was going to be doing. I looked around, I'm like, I got to clean off that bookcase. Instantly, I was trying to put on, some sort of, like you say, the figurative sport coat, trying to hide behind a mask, right? Or what about the folks that have kids at home and, 7 dogs and a cat and, a ferret. And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to contain my crazy. Like, everybody's going to see my crazy, right? That's a very real thing. But kind of on the opposite side of that, I want to share an example, something that actually happened to me the other day. I was facilitating an executive coaching session with a brand new leader, recently promoted, super excited, super eager. Of course, we were doing a virtual meeting, and this particular session was supposed to include her leader, an executive with the company. And so I logged on early. There was my coachee. She was like, I've got everything ready. I know exactly what I'm going to say. It was a goal alignment session. So she had her goals already. And the leader jumped on, but the leader wasn't on camera. And I said, oh, so-and-so, are you having trouble with your video? She was like, oh, no, I don't do video. I've been asked by my executive team and I refuse. And I remember thinking to myself, way to model leadership, right? In this case, she was using technology to hide, right? Whatever her thing was. But I just felt heartbroken for my coachee because she was sitting there waiting for this person. She thinks this woman walks on water. And she's unequivocally said, oh, by the way, this is the new way of the world. And this is what would be helpful for your leadership. But I'm not willing to go there because it's not my thing. Come on. That's good. It's not my thing. Y'all, we got to step into the light and lead in the spaces that we're given opportunity to lead. And that means that it's going to cost us something, right? It may cost us being stepping outside of our comfort zone. It may cost us learning more about ourselves and developing self-awareness where maybe we had none. I heard one leader actually say, there's a particular leader she's working with, and she's like, his lack of self-awareness is on overload right now. Like he has no clue, right? How many can I get an amen? I'm just saying.
Amen,
I'm just
amen.
saying. Nobody else, I'm sure, has ever experienced that. But anyway, Andy Smith says, Jeff Bull Momentum, don't cover those tattoos. Can I get a witness? I wanted to get a tattoo, but somebody in my house wasn't having it. I'm not going to mention any names. Anyway, Coach Akila says vulnerability is my superpower. Come on, that's good. Okay. You know what? Leadership right now and leading is exhausting. It's painful and it's overwhelming. It's exhausting, it's painful, and it's overwhelming. And yet, there's never been a better time to lead. I will go to my grave saying that. There's never been a better time to lead. And I'm going to tell you something else. You can lead in your home just as much as you can lead in the workplace. You can lead in your church, in your spiritual center, wherever it is you go, just as much as you can in a job. You can lead when you go to the unemployment center or you go on an interview. You can lead anywhere. This is the opportunity to step into it. Because I'm going to tell y'all something. Quarantine is going to end at some point, and the world is going to go back to what it is. And here's what I have. Here's a question I have for you. What are people going to say about how you led? Now, I'm preaching to the choir, so don't anybody send me any nasty grams because I'm not going to read them. What are people going to say about you and how you led during this time? Listen, we all can be vulnerable. We all can say, you know what, I need help. We can all do that. But at the end of the day, here's another one for you. This one's for free. A legacy isn't just left, it's lived. A legacy isn't just left, it's lived. What's your legacy right now during this time? When we're all challenged and all pushed to grow, we're forced to grow. We have no choice. All right, I need some of my folks in the live stream to drop a note in the comment. There's never been a better time to lead. Here's my question to my live streaming community. Do you agree or disagree? There's never been a better time to lead. Talk to me. Akila says, lead where you are. Someone is always watching. How are you going to show up? And listen, if you feel like you're ill-equipped to lead, this is an amazing time to partner in communities like this. This is exactly why we do this, right? We've got a community where we're providing you the tools, the tips, and access to these world-class coaches. Come on, y'all. You don't have to walk it by yourself. And with that, I'm going to ask y'all to drop a question for our panel. You've got free coaching right here. This is executive level coaching right here. Y'all heard it here first, and I need you to tell your friends. Ask our amazing panel, our amazing leaders some questions, right? They're sitting there waiting. So answer the question. There's never been a better time to lead. Do you agree? Or if you don't agree, why? Tell me why. We want to talk about it. All right. Our generation has never been challenged to soul search the way we have in 2020. What's it going to require, squad? What's it going to require for us to rediscover joy, hope, energy, strength? Come on, y'all. What do you think? What's it going to take for us to get there?
I'll start with that one. A decision. I hate to be
choked on my tea.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to be so simplistic about it, but we have to decide. We, in a lot of cases, again, when it first hit us, people were reacting, right? We all had to react to what was happening, shelter in place. Potentially, if it hit close to home, the shift that your family had to make as a result of the pandemic in whatever levels it hit you in, but a decision has to be made. Just how we've been talking about personal growth and personal development. Each of us now, you are now choosing to be where you currently are, right? Whether if you're in unemployment, what new skills do you need to gather, right? And Jeff kind of alluded to some things. Is now is the perfect time to begin building new muscles in new areas. And so all the things that you've been desiring, like that's like all of us, people who watch these live streams and believe we just got here by happenstance, or we woke up one morning and we had the microphones, we had the lights, we had the backdrops, we had the plants. No, that didn't just happen. We began, and again, but we build the muscle. Right. And you begin to shift the room. And here's the thing. All of a sudden you clean up. Oh, my gosh, because you're going to be on live stream. Or you're the person who figured out digital backgrounds before anybody else because you didn't want to clean up. And so we have to decide to be a participant in life and be a living legend. Like you said it, like you got to live your legacy. No, I'm going to be my own living legend. And guess what? I'm deciding to be around others because at the same time, I haven't arrived. And so I want to be around others who are helping me raise my lid. And we talk about John Maxwell, but the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, I never got past law 1, which is right, law of the lid. And so it's because I want to see what that means to me. And then I want to put myself in positions to be around others who are actively participating in what that actually means. And so that way I'm at levels of self-actualization right now because I'm around some giants and I choose to be around giants. And so guess what? I'm vulnerable with them. Yeah. I give myself permission. That's the other thing that we need to do is give ourselves permission to be vulnerable because as Brene Brown says it, vulnerability and courage are the same thing. And so if you don't understand that and you don't wrap your mind around that really quick, you're going to continue to try and be the victim in a situation versus being the champion.
Yeah. Woo!
You know, Lawrence, I love what you just said. Like you said, vulnerability and courage are the same things. It's the same. Fear and excitement are the exact same energy. They really are. I have a friend who's a neuroscientist, and we talk about this a lot. He said it is the exact same energy, and you get to choose. You get to choose whether it's going to be fear or whether it's going to be excitement and anticipation. So it really is a mindset thing. I love that, Lawrence.
Absolutely brilliant. I'm gonna pop some power plays in here, and I want this amazing panel and those in the live stream. I want you to respond to these in the live stream. If you agree with these power plays, I want you to put a thumbs up. If you don't agree, I want you to just pop a note and tell me why. All right. So the first thing is, here's our first power play. These are in no particular order. Identify an accountability partner who demonstrates a level of a growth mindset, consistently demonstrating maturity and integrity. There's your power play for personal growth right there. Identify an accountability partner. This is what Lawrence is talking about, right? He's talking about surrounding himself with people who are stretching themselves, who have stretched themselves, and who are continuing to do so. I think it was Miriam who mentioned that she's segmented out the relationships in her life that were toxic. We're all going to have to give up something. It's going to cost you something to grow. I talk to my leaders about this all the time, right? There is a cost to scaling, right? Do you think that, what's his name from Facebook? What's his name? Mark Zuckerberg. Thank you. I knew it would come to me. Do you think that Mark Zuckerberg answers all of his emails and talks to the same people that he did when he first started? There's no way he can do that, right? He had to become somebody different to be able to lead at the level he was being required to lead. And that is just a painful truth. And people say, well, so-and-so got an attitude because now she's got a live stream, or, now he's running a business or whatever it is. But listen, I want you to come with me. But sometimes people have to go with you or they get what? Left behind. Isn't that right? I think that's what Coach Akala was talking about. Okay. Identify an accountability partner who demonstrates a growth mindset consistently, come on, and demonstrates maturity and integrity. Let's see. Protect your spirit, soul, and body. There's your second power play. Come on. Protect your spirit, soul, and body. Panel, I need you to chime in on this whenever you're ready. Protect your spirit, soul, and body. You cannot let everything in your head. You cannot watch every live feed and every news feed. Come on, y'all. I'm preaching. 5 minutes before you go to bed. You've got to find a new energy source. And I'm going to tell you something. We talked about this, I think it was last week, that quarantine has unveiled some things. It's uncovered some things about ourselves. I think we were talking about that at the very beginning, hasn't it? And this habit that we have of constantly getting these, Pastor Andy talked about it at the beginning, who's in your head? Who are you allowing to rent space in your head? Come on. Personal growth means you're going to have to fill your mind with something new and something different. Come on. Learn to understand the difference between caution and fear. That's good, Lights and Walls. That's good. Learn to understand the difference between caution and fear. I need somebody to talk about that. Jeff, I need you to talk about this. Understand the difference between caution and fear.
I would love to, honestly. I'm sorry to do this, but my son apparently just let himself into the backyard and needs to come in the house. So
you
speaking
go do
of
that?
balancing things, I'm going to have to do that. It's been awesome being on though. I appreciate everybody.
Good to see you
Have
guys.
a great morning. I'll see you soon.
All right, Kim, I want you to talk about this, understanding the difference between caution and fear.
Well, as I was saying a minute ago, fear and excitement and anticipation, it's all the exact same energy. And so I think we have to take stock of where we are and really simply notice what we're feeling, and then get to the root of why are we feeling that energy in that way? Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. Yeah. I love it. You've got to understand when to shut things down and when to explore, right? The way that we say it in the world of faith is that God doesn't give us a spirit of fear, right? You can tell light from dark, good from evil, because you can tell the Holy Spirit from the enemy of your soul, because God doesn't give you fear. He may give you caution, right? Fear is designed to terrify you. Come on. Caution is designed to protect you. and instruct you.
Love it.
Woo! I felt that. That's good. I'm gonna shout by myself. Here's
Karen,
another power.
if I could add to that, but before and we one of the things I had to learn on this personal growth journey, and we talked about it when we were talking about for the past 2 weeks and talking about the imposter syndrome, is on the journey of getting to that place where you're totally removing something out of your life in the coaching, and then you all will laugh about this. It's the reframe. How can I reframe? Like,
come on,
I'm getting there. I'm chipping away at fear. What can I do to reframe fear in the moment? Well, give it a new meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Forget everything and rise.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Instead of false evidence appearing real.
Come on.
And so when you're, and it's just you giving yourself little nuggets, little breadcrumbs to pull yourself out, right? Or to begin to shift your energy until you start getting to those affirmations and those other things. And so as you think about creating joy within yourself, there has to be a shift that happens in the way that you process information. And one thing that I love to do is simple, right? We all used to do it, but how often we forget about pros and cons lists.
Yeah.
Right. And helping ourselves just kind of measure, right? If we're taking stock, as Kim alluded to, okay, is this the good, better, or best thing for me to do right now?
Yeah. So
simple.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what you're talking a lot about, though, is this thing that I think we've all kind of been shocked into doing. And for those of us that are in the leadership space, I think you said it, Lawrence, we made assumptions because we were leading other people, right? We're advisors to CEOs and boards and executive teams and whatnot. And so like, well, sure, we're doing it. But there comes a time when you have to take a step back. Andy said this, right? You have to take a step back and assess. You have to make space for yourself. And so instead of being afraid of that space of silence or being afraid of being alone with your emotions, let them teach you. Talk to them. I talk to myself, okay? I'm that one on the road, side of the road, all dressed up, looking like a wild woman, talking to myself, okay, and answering back because I have a lot to say. There's a lot in here. And I think it's imperative that we learn to do that. Listen, if you are going to embrace personal growth, you have to get comfortable with yourself. And if you're not, Kim, come on.
Well, what I was going to say, I'm getting fired up, but you're so right. I mean, we've talked a lot about, well, we may have to get out of our comfort zone, or we may have to no, we have to. There's no may about it. If you're going to be a good, solid leader, you're going to have to do these things. Yeah. And it is a choice. You're going to have to choose whether you want to move forward and get out of your comfort zone and make yourself vulnerable and become a better, stronger, more effective leader, or if you're going to stay where you are. But it's going to require you to do these things. It's going to require you to become comfortable with yourself first. You can't lead anyone until you learn how to lead this right here. You just can't.
So good. And let me just say this, because we talked about this when we did the mini masterclass on the wilderness effect. We are all at different places, right? Some of us are like, okay, I had my good cry. I got it together. I figured out, I retooled my business, and now I'm ready to go. But there are some of us who are still very tender. There are some of us who feel lost or still feel isolated or removed. And I want to speak to your heart this morning because I want you to know that this community and many like it exists to be that bridge, to support you while you transform, while you explore, while you do that inner work, okay? This is not about go forth and run the world because that's what everybody should be doing. What we're talking about is, what Kim's talking about is the decision is about, you know what? I am going to take a step back. I need to heal. I need to hear from God. I need to do the work. Do not be afraid to ask for help. Reach out to your pastor. Reach out and schedule time with a licensed therapist or a counselor. We partner with an amazing counseling group called Mind and Body Christian Health Group, and several others. Dr. Denise Colson, who is an amazing therapist and counselor in the area of trauma recovery, because we believe in the power of asking for help. When leaders reach out to me and to Lawrence and to Kim and to Pastor Andy, and they say, I'm falling apart, that is one of the best places we can be. It's one of the best uses of my time to be able to ask for help. And let me talk to you for a moment about asking for help when your family life is stretched. Okay, now I'm really getting into your business. I'm really getting into somebody's business right now. I have an 11-year-old son. Y'all know this. He is my heart. And we have had a time of it trying to navigate, both my husband and I work. I run 2 businesses. He's an executive responsible for large teams and large projects. And we're trying to homeschool an 11-year-old who can barely get down the stairs and make it to breakfast without getting distracted. Can I get an amen? Goodness. I mean, oh, and by the way, 2nd week of school, he broke his wrist. And the 3rd week of school, he had surgery. Yeah. Anyway, lots going on. And you probably have a lot going on too. But it is okay to ask for help, to raise your hand and to say, you know what? I don't know if I can do this. I don't know how to do it. Asking for help is one of our power plays. Come on. Can I get an amen? That's good. That's good. Learn the difference between comfort and mastery. That's your next power play. I'm just going to give it a minute. Let it soak in. Learn the difference between comfort and mastery. Pastor Andy, I can see your wheels turning.
No, I'm just soaking it all in, just listening. Karen, I think as we were talking about fear and caution, I think Jeff said something really great to kind of spark some of that unearthing dialogue. It's not about impression, it's about impact. And so he just really kind of began to shift, I think, where most leadership coaches miss the mark, or leadership experts miss the mark. It is important how we show up, but it's also important why we show up and for who we show up. And so I think we lack. I think sometimes we ask the wrong questions, just to be quite honest, or at least maybe I'm the only person that misses it too much. But I think we ask the wrong questions. In medicine, we don't say doctors have perfected medicine. We say they're practicing medicine, and leaders are practicing leadership. And so we need to ask questions based on how are we growing in our practice, not perfection. That's probably a good question to kind of get a good metric system. And the second thing is we need to ask questions. What do the people I lead need? Not what do I have to offer them? It's the wrong question, because I don't. If I really am going to lead well, sometimes I'm not the expert, but I'm still the one responsible. And sometimes my responsibility is to connect people. So fear and caution are all about focus, because I'm always afraid of what's going to impact me, and rarely am I afraid of what's going to impact you. So, by no apology, one of my favorite verses is this verse in the scripture that says, perfect love casts out all fear. Now, I believe in coaching self up, but until love drives why you would fight what you're afraid of, you'll never master. You will just learn to cope better. And coaching will never make you a better leader. It will just make you comfortable with being half of who you could be, because compassion's not driving it. And I rarely hear from leaders ever how to grow in compassion. I hear how to grow in skill. I hear how to grow in management, but I never hear how to grow in compassion, which is the ultimate question, because we do not lead organizations. We lead organisms in organizations, and they, at the heart of themselves, have to feel safe. And most leaders do not create safe environments. They're not asking, what do the people I lead need? Before, like, there's a question, someone says, how do you lead and manage someone who doesn't want to be vulnerable? I think the first question is why don't they want to be vulnerable? And what do they need to trust that if they follow what I'm asking them to do, it will lead them to where they ultimately want to go? The question is not how do I lead them? The question is how do I lead myself to meet their needs,
creating
so I
the
can lead them to where they need to be
for that transformation. Can I get a witness?
Love it, love it, love it.
Love it. So good, y'all. I know it, like, I could go on for another hour, but we are out of time, and I'm going to leave it on that, because that was just like the mic drop that we needed to pull it into doc. Come on, this was so good. You guys, can the live stream community, whether you're watching this live or on the replay, can you just give up some love for these amazing leaders who every Monday have, for the past several Mondays, have been showing up? Jeff is up at the crack of dawn, and they're just pouring out all of these power plays to help you level up your leadership. Here's the reality. You know, right now, it may seem like we don't have a lot of options, but we are creative beings. Whether you're left brain or right brain or, you know, introvert, extrovert, has nothing to do with it. We are creative beings. And as leaders, we're leading because we've created something, or we have the capacity to create. We got to lean into that. And this is the time to do it. I hope you've heard something today that has transformed your thinking, leveled up your thinking. This is the Rock Your Vision Masterclass community. We're all about mastering the shift in this season. We started the year playing bigger, and we're still doing that by mastering the shift. Talk about mastery, because we've all had to shift. Like, no bones about it. We've all had to shift. But you know what? You've got what it takes to do it. And we believe in that. That's exactly why we've created this community, to be able to receive and to hear from you. We want to hear your thoughts and ideas. So I'm just going to ask you, if you're not already following us on Facebook, you can find us at Rock Your Vision Community. You can find us on YouTube. Just look us up, do a search for the Rock Your Vision. We need you to pop over into the YouTube community and be sure to follow us there and share it with your network as well, because we're going to be doing some interesting things in the YouTube space as well. And let's see, you can also find us on IG at Rock Your Vision. We've got lots of things going on, and right now we can't meet in person, but y'all, I'm telling you, when 2021 comes and all of this nonsense gets shut down, I want you to know we're going to have to rent out a convention center or something, because we are going to rock the house. We are going to bring the fire, because that's the way we do it. And we're going to have a great time. But until then, you can find us right here every Monday, 8:15 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, on the Rock Your Vision Facebook page and on YouTube. We are super excited. I want to thank Kim Dudash. Kim, real quickly, tell us where we can find you.
Oh, I am on all social media, Dudash Executive Coaching, Instagram and Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with you there. It's Kim Dudash. And so, yeah, that's where you can find me. And I also have a website, dudashexecutivecoaching.com. So thank you, Karen.
Y'all look up Kim. She's an amazing leader, and she's a world-class coach. Absolutely. Thank you, Kim. So glad to have you here. Lawrence, where can we find you, buddy?
Oh, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at BossLab, BossLLAB, and connect with me. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. My full government name, Lawrence E. Henderson
Lawrence
Jr.
E. So glad to have you. Andy, where can we find you, bud?
Hey, I'll be on Facebook and Instagram, andrew.b.as.in.boy.smith. And Karen, thank you so much for doing this. You're making a difference. And we are very blessed to be able to join you in what you're doing to impact the community. You truly are making a trend and changing
Absolutely.
the culture around you.
You guys hold on for one quick second. But the rest of you, we're going to sign off. We all got things to do. We got to rock our vision this week. We've had an amazing jumpstart. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're watching it on the replay, don't forget #replay. And remember, you've got more options than you realize. See you next time.